And to that end, of being here, having had some pizzas and some drinks, I'll introduce you to two companies even. So we have two sponsors. One for the venue, which is clearly recharge.com or just recharge. I wanted to make jokes about if your Wi-Fi isn't working that you should pay the bills, but I didn't, and I won't. And the other one is OfferZen, and they are in the unicorn business, or what is that? Anyway, but I think we should let them introduce themselves. Possibly, maybe. Yes, oh, there you are. Hello. Yeah, no, look, where is she? Look, I have a mic for you. Shall I just be here? Annoying you? Oh.
I didn't expect this. Hi. Just pose next to me, look pretty. So I'm Alex. Thank you. I'm from OfferZen. We are a developer jobs platform. We help you find a dream job when and if you're ready to change jobs. Otherwise, we like doing really cool things like sponsoring community meetups and events like this. We also have a survey going at the moment, which is our European survey. Someone made a joke about it's a bug, not a feature. We actually have a t-shirt about that, and we're giving it away for the survey completers. So if you want to complete the survey and get more swag, just come pop me a message or come find me. Otherwise, make sure you grab some pizza, some drinks during the breaks, and your swag on your way out if you haven't already. But that's me.
Nice, thank you. And also for all the pizzas and all the drinks. Anyway, and here we have Wouter. Yep, there we go.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so for the venue, this is recharge.com. I've been working here for about 2 years. People have been asking me, what is recharge? Well, we pretty much recharge anything worldwide. So whenever you are anywhere in the world and you want to top up your phone or you want to buy something, there's 3 major categories that we buy. It's funny because we split up the thing. There we go. So gift cards, if you want to buy a Netflix credit, if you want to buy a Spotify credit, bol.com, Amazon.com, pretty much anything worldwide, digital, you can buy it on our website. And it's pretty cool. It's a growing company. We have 140 people or so working for us right now. We're doing about $1 million turnover every day, so about 500 million last year. And our headquarters is this. This is the headquarters right now. And well, we're still hiring. We're still looking for people. We're doing actually quite well. So we're a growing company, and that's kind of cool. As a swag thing, it's cool. We actually have a 10% discount code. So if you're planning to buy anything on Amazon or bol.com and you want 10% discount, just get one of those discount codes that we have. Buy your code on our website or our app, and then you'll have 10% discount on your voucher that you can redeem directly on whatever you want to buy. So that's it.
And you're hiring Ruby engineers.
We are hiring sporadically Ruby engineers. So I think we just filled our position right now, but we're hoping to open up one soon again.
Nice. Good. Well, thank you for having us. Flor, you want to say something, or shall I just keep on? I feel so much better now. You like my new haircut? I also like my new haircut. You can really well see how gray I'm getting. That's good. I promised my wife to get older there, so I shouldn't complain. Here we are. This is the team of Netherlands.rb or Amsterdam Ruby. On the left, you have Raita. She's also sitting there on your left. Hoi. And we have Floor sitting over there, saying things to Raita. And this would potentially be me. So I usually say funny things for a short while, and then I'll just go off the... Anyway, and there we have Tom. He's doing a lot of technology today, but that is mostly because I think you should be hosting again, but there were some things with technology that were just better if you did it today. So thank you. Anyway, this is us. We're usually organizing things for you in Amsterdam. Last weekend, we were in Rotterdam even because of a Rails Girls event. Yay! Yay, that other big city. Yes, we have some Rotterdam people sitting in that corner. And there are more people that were in Rotterdam last weekend. So yeah, one of them will be speaking here even. Anyway, so all your speakers are on our Slack. potentially they aren't, but now they know they should. So you can keep the conversation going with them. That's always nice, because potentially you will hear things that are new to you, and you think, oh, I should pay attention to that, or I want to learn something. And then you can have a chat with us or with them. Please do everything in the Amsterdam channel for everyone to learn. Yet, if it's really personal, feel free to just reach out to people in DMs. You can do that thing. So go to slack.amsrb.org, and then you have access to our Slack if you don't already. The speakers, venues, MCs, all y'all are bound to abide to our code of conduct. In very many words, it just says, be a nice person. And then you'll figure out that everyone around you is a nice person. Yay, made it. Good. So we have 4 talks before the break and 4 talks after the break. We start with Van der Hillen. So I have people, they want to build the absolute best thing that's possible. And then you have Van der Hillen. He will stop immediately when it's good enough. That doesn't mean that the bar is really low, but you never get more than you want, which is, I think, a fantastic trait in an engineer. After that, we have Brett Beutell. He is a not Ruby day-to-day developer, which is fun on the Ruby meetup, because he's going to say a few things about Ruby. We have Derk-Jan Karrenbeld. As far as I know, you do things with the Grote Prijs van Nederland?
Yeah.
Is that singing?
I'm not singing, I'm producing.
You're producing music, that is.
Longest running live music X competition of the Netherlands.
Anyway, that's what your talk is going to be about, right?
Nope.
No. He has a talk that is not a sponsor talk, although he's dressed up completely like he's working for our Exercis. And then we have Amanda Perino. Do I pronounce it correctly? No. Yes? Oh, fantastic. So she was at the Rails Girls event. And even before we officially started the program, she was already deploying her software. Just, you know, who's going to have a chat here. Anyway, you'll see later who the speakers for after the break are. And I think now we go to have Van der Hillen here, who will say things about Santa, as far as I know. Let me see if I can get the thing running. Yeah, sure.
Hey, it works.
You want a clicker?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, have a clicker.
Might be fun. Which one is this one is next?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, hey everyone.
Vander!
So I want to talk to you like I was told like you can talk about anything. So I'm gonna talk to you about an Advent of Code program. Advent of Code is a programming, like it's not really a competition. It's also not really not a competition. They present like 25 problems every December from the 1st to 25th of December in rising order of difficulty. And this one is one from 2021. And what I really like about it is that the first time you see it, you think, well, a fairly straightforward solution, but it won't work. And then you think about it some more, you come up with a good solution. And then if you are still not satisfied, you can read about it. And there's a surprisingly deep mathematical solution that is even nicer. So what it is about? So, you know, there is always a story that involves Santa. Don't read too much in it, but Santa is swimming in the sea. How he got there? He was on the submarine. How he got on the submarine? Don't ask. He was swimming on his submarine vacation, and he sees a school of lanternfish. Like the thing on the left is a lanternfish. They swim in giant schools and they multiply very fast. As Santa is observing these fish, he sees that they multiply every 8 days, except for when they're young. Then it's the first cycle takes 6 days. You know, and he counts like at the start, there are 5 lanternfish, one with age 3 days until it will multiply, one 4 days, another 3 days, one is almost there, 1 more day, and one of 2 days. So next day, you know, they all get one lower, and then at some point, this one will be 0, so it loops around, it becomes 8. And we'll make a new one for 6. Now, the exact setup is not super important, but if you see something like this, you have a number of fish in the sea, you might be thinking like, I program in Ruby. Ruby is object-oriented, so I'll make some objects. I'll call it fish, you know, some magic in the step method to do the counting. You make a whole bunch of new fish at the start. And, well, the question asks, like, you know, how many fish are there after 256 days? So you have to do it 256 times. You step each fish, and then at the end you count how many there are. And it's fairly straightforward. It's not even a lot of code. But, you know, there are quite a lot of fish, right? So it's an exponential function. It doubles every 8 days, approximately. And, you know, if you have that many fish, a single Ruby object is at least 40 bytes. So, you know, I don't know about your laptop, like developer laptops are pretty big in terms of RAM, I hear, but, you know, mine cannot count all these fish. And also I need stuff to run Slack and VS Code and all the other stuff. Anyway, so then you think about it and like, wait a minute, any fish of like age 2 is exactly the same as any other fish of age 2. So you can just say how many fish of each age you have, all right? And then you can step them all at once. So here, you know, you can see we have 2 of age 3. No, on the spot on age 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. There are 2. And, you know, we don't have any of the older fish. That's it. That works. So, and, you know, then it's fairly straightforward. All the fish shift 1 to the left every step, except for the one all the way at the left because it's reproducing. So it adds its count to the ones on 6 and on 9. Oh, easy peasy. Should be good. Like I say, math. Is this even math? Ruby comes with the inbuilt rotate method. So you just rotate the entire array and then you add the ones at the end to 6. And you should be done. You know, fish counts.sum. And we're done. Hooray! It takes about 2 milliseconds. Even in pure Ruby. Ruby is not the fastest, but even for me, like 2 milliseconds is fine. But can we make it faster? Well, not if it only takes 2 milliseconds. So let's make it a more thing. Let's do 2 to the power of 22 iterations. You know, and if we make it more difficult like this, it if you know anything about algorithmic runtimes, it's ON, so it just takes you know, about 2 to the 18th more time, 2 to the 16th as long. In this case, on my computer, it took about 30 seconds. Very nice. 26. All right. You know, and I'm impatient. One of the 3 great programmer virtues. You have to be lazy. You want the computer to do it. You have to be impatient. You want them to do it fast. And you have to have enough hubris to make, you know, to believe that you can make the computer do that. Anyway, so what can we do about this? Math. Okay, so half the people will have tuned out. That's fine. Math. Yeah, this is actually math because if you squint a bit, an array is just a vector into 9-dimensional space. In this case, so just visualize an n-dimensional space and set n is 9 and you should be fine. Yeah, we already went over this slide. It's this is the basic operation. And if you know anything about changing vectors, you know that the mathematician's favorite tool is the matrix. Enter the matrix. The matrix is neo-counting fish. All thanks to our friend Stable Diffuser. No, it's the original matrix, still considered better by the original fans, of course. The matrix. So how can we do this? Well, you can do this with what they call a permutation matrix. And instead of this, which was the original program, you know, you just add a matrix. I have it in a separate bonus slide if everyone is curious, but it's just a big matrix. And then you can change the do block to, you know, just you multiply the fish counts by this matrix. And that does the same thing. It moves them around and adds them. But if we refactor this some more, actually, so you multiply the fish counts by the shifting matrix, and then multiply the result by the shifting matrix, multiply it. So actually what you do is you raise this shifting matrix to some super high power. That's interesting. This exponentation, this very high exponent, well, you know, it looks very high, but actually we already know this is just a power of 2. So we can do a dirty little trick that's called exponentation by squaring, because if you want to do a matrix to the 2nd power, it's just the matrix times itself. But if you want it to the 4th power, you can do the squared matrix times the squared matrix. So do you have to do 4 multiplications? No, not quite, because this one can be acquired by 1 multiplication, and then this one by 2 multiplications. This one and that one. And to get to 8, you only need 3. These. So you can actually double the power with just 1 multiplication. And so to get to the 2 to the power of 22, you only need 22 multiplications, which is, I can tell you, a lot less than 4 million. Yes, because math, I know this. So there is in Ruby, in the standard library, already a matrix library. So instead of this, you can just change it back into this. You require a matrix at the top, and well, 20 times the do shifting matrix times itself. Easy peasy. So I only have 10 minutes, so I don't know if I'm already over that. What can we learn from this? Well, first, matrices are the best. This solution takes well under a second. And most of that was because the number got so large that I literally couldn't fit it in my terminal, even if I maximized the terminal. So it was just the time that it has to multiply numbers takes too long. If we make the exponent higher, so if it was more than 2 to the 22nd, this solution would become even better because it only scales logarithmically. So matrices are the best. Except for movies 2 and 3, they were not the best. Math, not so scary. But like even the simplest sounding solutions can have deep solutions, and looking for a better algorithm is just sometimes so incredibly worth it. At some point, I tried to do it to the 40th. I calculated that the original solution would take like over 4 years, and I only had like 2 weeks until the talk, so. So looking for a better algorithm is just really, really worth it. And yeah, what are you going to do with it? I don't know. I just like the solution, so I wanted to talk about it. It's probably not something that you will use tomorrow, but cool tricks are their own reward. And also, like maybe, just one of you in a few years, they will encounter a problem like this, and they will get to look like absolute wizards when they pull this out of their bag, right? So just think about back. If this happens to you, please send me a message because I would love to know. All right, that was my talk. Thank you very much. You want to do this one?
Yeah, eventually. So now it's time for Brad Beutell to take the stage. I'm going to unplug laptops here.
Do it.
Yep. Oh, also, wire you up with the mic that we got from Wander, because otherwise the nice people at home can't hear you.
Oh no.
Can't have that.
Sometimes I like just talk really loud. So,
yeah, probably that doesn't make it to YouTube though.
okay, perfect.
Good.
Signal processing.
That's good. I like signals to be processed.
Me too. Woo! Oh no, spoilers.
It works. Oh.
Okay. All right, we're gonna start slideshow. I'm in offline mode, which was not working, and now it's working. Cool. All right, I renamed the talk because I wanted to recently, and it's called Metaprogramming: Our Merry Ways to Metrics for Ruby Methods. I'm also gonna speed run this. I'm gonna be talking very fast, and I apologize for that. I'll try to slow down for the critical bits, but I'm cramming in a lot of complex things in a short amount of time. Who am I? My name is Brett. My nickname is Boots. You can find me at Boots in Slack. I'm the front-end lead at Fiberplane, which means I actually don't work with Ruby. But Fiberplane is a startup in Amsterdam. We'll get to that in a second. And that second is now. What we do at Fiberplane is we make collaborative notebooks for observability people. So these are DevOps, site reliability engineers. But our broader goal is to make observability a bit more digestible for everyone, and that includes developers like us. And recently we open sourced a bunch of libraries called Autometrics, and that's going to form the basis for the talk today. There's links to this, and also please you can message me if you have any questions about that. Autometrics. This started as a Rust library, a simple macro. So the title of this slide is the syntax for a macro in Rust. The promise, which I believe we fulfilled, is you add one line of code to your application, and you get smart, easy-to-use metrics for your application with integrated documentation. It's really cool. You get a little popover of your function. It has links to, in our case, a Prometheus dashboard that can give you insights into what's happening in production with your code. So click from your code to your dashboard, solve bugs. That's kind of the hope of this. So what do we want to do tonight here in this talk? I want to be able to show you how you could, with one line of code, add metrics to the methods inside of a Ruby class. And we're going to use metaprogramming, just so you know. To keep things simple, we're not going to talk about integrated documentation. We're not going to talk about setting up Prometheus or anything like that. We're just going to focus on how would we get the data that we need to feed that into a metrics collection agent. And I think that is a very interesting subproblem. So 3 things to take away from this. First, metrics are good. If you don't know what they are, we're going to define them in a second. Don't worry. I didn't know what they were until like 3 months ago. They're cheaper and they're less noisy than logs. The second thing is that metrics are an investment. So there's you pay for it upfront and afterwards in terms of things you need to learn. But the whole point of Autometrics is we were trying to make decisions for people, convention over configuration, if you will. Oh, and last thing, this is very important. Anything is possible with metaprogramming in Ruby. And I don't say that in an optimistic way, like, anything is, it's like anything is possible with metaprogramming in Ruby. This cuts both ways. It can be good, it can be bad. So explaining metrics. In the world of observability, which is a giant slab of wood, I guess, you have logs, metrics, and traces. These are all pyramids. I don't know why. Traces, ignore it. We're not going to talk about it. Logs, we all know this. This is a log statement that you put in your code. Hey, an error happened. That goes to a file somewhere. You can look at it either locally or in production. And you go, hey, something bad happened. Metrics, however, they're like a step above logs. They tell you a story of what's happening over time. So you made a log statement, but that doesn't tell you how often that function is erroring. That doesn't tell you how often that function is erroring in a week. And these types of things can be very helpful for debugging things in a complex distributed system, like a lot of our applications run in. So metrics, that's what we care about. I just explained what metrics are. A good concrete example is, the error rate of an application, but you can also think of like response times. So a nice histogram of how long it took for an HTTP handler to return, things like that. So metaprogramming, this is the other thing. We talked about metrics, we're in metaprogramming land now. If you've never heard of it, metaprogramming refers to the APIs and techniques that allow you to write code that can reason about code, hence the meta. I don't like this definition. Because it's meaningless to me. And perhaps some way to concretize it is to know that Rails uses metaprogramming for a lot of its magic. So what's happening under the hood is a bunch of like kind of hand-wavy things in Ruby that make good APIs. A couple examples of like these tools in the toolbox. If you've ever worked with alias method, method added, or define method in Ruby, you're kind of using things that can be used for metaprogramming. I won't go into depth right now what these are because this is a spoiler. We'll see them in a little bit. So we'll take a breath. I know I'm talking so fast. I'm sorry. Are we good? Is everyone OK? All right, cool. What we want to do is with one line of code, add metrics to the methods inside of a Ruby class. We're ignoring the other complex parts of this problem. And to be even more precise, we just want the counts of method calls, the error rate, and let's say the execution time. That's all we're going to focus on. OK, so how are we going to do this? Drum roll. Can anyone guess what I'm going to say? Metaprogramming. Metaprogramming. You're genius. You get no prize. I'm sorry. But to be more precise again, let's do natural language pseudocode, right? So every time that a method is added to a class, do something. And this is the ugliest slide, I promise. This is what I came up with. So first, we want to alias the method to another name. So that way we can reference it later. Then we want to redefine that public-facing method. And then in that redefinition, we're gonna wrap the original implementation into some code that can gather data about what's happening. We'll see what this looks like in just a second. And oh yeah, do not forget to return the original result. Otherwise, the consumers of your API will be angry. So this is where he switches to VS Code very elegantly. He does this. OK, is that legible? Yep. OK. Here we have an example database module with a client. And in this client, I want to just get some basic metrics for the save votes and maybe get votes methods that are defined. My goal here is that I can just do include autometrics, and then that's going to feed in the metrics to our metrics collection and stuff like that. So how would we implement this autometrics module in order to do that? This is where I arrived. This is a simplified version of what we've published, but it's good for illustration purposes. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to know when this module is included. I think this is a fairly common pattern in Ruby, but you just use self.included on the module, and that gives you the chance to extend the class into which you're included with additional functionality. So in this case, I'm extending it with class methods. You can ignore the other thing. I just had to do that to avoid an infinite loop, because infinite loops are bad, infinite loops are bad, infinite loops are bad, infinite loops are bad. And the only thing that I'm doing here, the only thing that I'm going to add to this, the class we're included into, is this def method added. This is some metaprogramming magic. This allows us to hook into anything that's getting defined. So when you pop back here and we see save vote, this means that this is going to be called. As soon as you write that code save vote, this will be called with the name of the method as a symbol. So that's kind of step one. We've hooked into the method definition. All right. Next thing we want to do is we want to get an alias for that method. So here I chose a not so cleverly named alias, which is just method name without autometrics. And then I use the alias method, Ruby method. I'm going to say method a lot, just so you know, in order to provide another reference to that original thing that was defined in the class. OK, so that step's done. We know we can call that later if we want. Now we're going to redefine things. We use define method, which will yield us the arguments that are going to be passed to the function, as well as any additional blocks. And we're passing the method name of the original method to that. So it's like whatever public consumers of this are using is the code that we're putting in this block. I wrapped everything. Oh, it fits perfectly. That's nice. I wrapped everything in a begin rescue because, again, we want to track the error rate. And inside the begin, I do some simple timing, which words to the wise, do not use time.now for this kind of stuff. Use process.clockGetTime. And all I do is mark the start time, send that original alias method name with the any arguments and blocks attached, get that original result, mark the end time, measure the elapsed time, and this is where we would do the stuff with the metrics collection agent. So we have all the data we need right now. We know it was successful, and we know how much time it took. So then we send that off somewhere, theoretically, and then return the original result. Conversely, if there's an error, all we need to do is just increment some sort of counter that says, like, hey, you called this thing, and it was an error. And then hand waving, it goes off to Prometheus or wherever. And that's honestly it. How am I on time?
You have 1 minute left.
Woo! OK. I didn't think I was going to make it. Yeah. So to recap, 3 things. I know I didn't really talk about why metrics are good that much, but metrics are good. Trust me. They're really good. Other thing, metrics are an investment. There's a reason I did not talk about the Prometheus side of things or the writing PromQL query side of things, because those are not typically developers' jobs. That's not really what we do. It's ideally you would have a library that does that for you. And the last thing, I hope this shows really anything is possible with metaprogramming in Ruby. You can do so many things that are really cool and of dubious value. Finally, this will be linked in the slides. There's an amazing article by someone named Brandon Weaver. It's on Dev 2. It's called Decorating Ruby. It's 3 parts. It goes through a lot of different ways that you could have implemented this. But that's where I took a lot of inspiration for the final implementation. It's really, really good. I enjoyed it thoroughly. And finally, talk to me afterwards. I don't always talk this fast, I promise. And we can talk about observability, developer tooling, really developer tooling, because I'm interested in that with Ruby, or human language learning or photography. And I'm done. OK, time.
Nice. Doing quite well for a non-Ruby dev.
Thank you.
Derk-Jan, it's you. So You can't get it off. Oh.
So I was going to like stand next to you and you would talk into it.
It's okay, I don't talk that fast. Well, normally I do, but today I won't.
You do talk that loud, though.
Yes, but not that loud that they can hear me at home.
But that's only because you're from Rotterdam.
Yes, it's only because I'm from Rotterdam.
Kijk eens, zal ik hem ophangen voor je?
Wil je dat? Zal ik dit afdoen?
Ja, als dat kan.
Natuurlijk.
Klik hem gewoon hierin. Ben je links of rechts?
Ik ben rechts, denk ik.
Oké, nou dan zit hij in de weg, sorry.
Zit mijn... ja. Beautiful.
Een klikker?
Nee.
Prima.
Thank you.
Heb je meer ruimte?
Ik heb echt heel weinig nodig. Ik hoef alleen maar te klikken. Ik hoef maar 1 keer te klikken. Beautiful.
Yes. Shall I turn off more lights or is this okay?
Oh. Ik ga even aanlichten. Ik ga even het licht aanzetten. Lights. Bit better. Yeah, I'll make it bigger. Let's just give me a sec. Actually, let's do this. Don't worry, there's not a lot of text on the screen. If you can't read this because it's white on dark, you can go to the website and press the first talk. So you can actually follow along with a white background. If you have motion sickness, you should probably do the same. All right. I'm going to give you 10 seconds to do that.
Help the attention to user experience.
Yes, very important. All right. Before I introduce myself again, thank you very much. I want to talk about exercise. It's generally accepted that exercise is very good for you. You definitely should take a moment every day to do your daily exercise. And if you do that, and if you practice on your exercise, we know that as long as you sleep enough, you're going to be perfect at something. We also know that once you learn a foreign language, studies have shown that you probably will remember that language forever, even if you don't practice that language later in your life. And it's also been shown in studies that if you know multiple languages or even have exposure to multiple languages, that it becomes easier to learn the next one. But for developers, it's very hard to learn a new programming language. And studies around this have shown us that that's because of something called interference. Not enough practice in the languages you already know, and not enough practice in the languages you want to learn. This is really to let myself breathe, because I always talk too fast. I am Derk-Jan, usually known as DJ in the international communities, and on the interwebs, I usually go by Sleepless Byte. You may have seen talks from me before, usually about accessibility, about standards. I talk about things like unobtrusive JavaScript components, as well as lessons that I've learned in production. But today's lightning talk is about a platform that can help you achieve fluency in a programming language that you already know, or a programming language that you want to learn. Exercis is a completely free platform to achieve fluency in such programming language by combining learning, practicing, and mentoring. They say it's both fun and effective, but I want to point out it's completely free, as in beer. Exercis has existed for many years. It was founded in 2013 by Katrina Owens. It was a tool for her students. This probably means that there are people here who already know about Exercis, have used it in the past, have contributed, or have mentored. If this is one of you and you haven't seen the latest version, I do recommend that you go to the Exercis website and you find videos and you watch this video by one of our core contributors called Katrina, who talks about everything that's new in version 3. This was launched on September 1st, 2021. At this moment, Exercis supports 67 programming languages. I'm going to show them all up on the screen, and you may recognize some of the icons. I do want to point out that we're still adding new languages. And by we, I mean someone will tell us, hey, can you support this language? And we will ask that person, well, can you help us support it? And build the tooling for it. I'm a core maintainer of JavaScript and TypeScript. JavaScript is actually in an excellent state, but TypeScript definitely needs some love, which I will give it later this year. And at work, regular life, I'm using Ruby, JavaScript, TypeScript, Bash, and Common Lisp. for the day-to-day, and occasionally PLSQL, Kotlin, Swift, and PHP. I'm mentioning this because it probably means that the Turing-complete languages that you use in your daily life are also on this list. Now, out of these 67 languages, only a few of them are not supported by our web editor. That means that for every other language, you don't need to install anything to get started. There is a tool available that will help you download your exercise and your solution to your own machine, should you want that. Barring the languages that were not highlighted, the web editor looks a lot like your general editor. It features a code panel, an introduction to the exercise, including detailed instructions for the specific exercise. Sometimes those instructions are divided into various individual tasks, and we even show you some hints if you get stuck along the way. Most languages also support a way to debug the code, and as well, syntax highlighting. Once you're happy with your solution in the web editor, you can run the test by pressing the Run Test button. This will, again, not require to install anything. The test will run on the platform, and should those tests run to completion, you can actually see the results. This shows you whether or not tests have failed, tests have passed, if you made a boo-boo, what the error was, including the test code that had run. Languages featuring debugging capabilities from the web editor will also show the output here. New in version 3 of Exercis, which is highlighted in the talk from Angelica, is the track syllabus. At this moment, 14 tracks have a syllabus. A syllabus is a collection of concepts for that track. And it concludes exercises that were specifically designed to teach you those concepts, to help you understand and to help you achieve fluency. The 14 tracks are Clojure, Common Lisp, C#, Elixir, Elm, F#, Go, Java, JavaScript, JQ, Python, Ruby, Rust, and Swift. Each syllabus is specifically designed for that track only. Right now, you can see the syllabus for the Elixir track, which has a whopping 15 concepts for you to teach. The syllabus helps you to get through the topics in a certain specific order, but allowing you to branch here and there and practice the concept you've learned before. Tracks with a syllabus are still developing new exercises, and as languages evolve, we also add new concepts to these track syllabuses. Of course, we want some feedback on our code. So here is some JavaScript code, and even if you don't know JavaScript, you may see something that could be improved. When I submitted this solution to the JavaScript track, an automated program called an analyzer ran on this code, and it will generate automated feedback. However, because this is a computer program, we can actually do really cool things with this. Had I called it crying before dining instead of preparation minutes per layer, the comment would have reflected that. These analyzers are a lot of work to write, and they can be very complex, especially with complex exercises. And that's why we've actually looked at the millions of submissions by the hundreds and thousands of students, and we found out there's a lot of duplication. Even if you don't know JavaScript, we can probably agree that the two solutions shown on the screen are the same. Sure, there's difference in white space, there's difference in the naming of a constant, and some people will use different names for arguments, but it's doing the same thing. So if you normalize this, you actually have the same solution again. But that means that if as a mentor, I write commentary for the solution on the left, I can actually give it to the person on the right. And that's exactly what we started doing. Mentors can now write comments on a solution, and it will actually be given to every single person who's doing the same solution. Again, with the variable names, function names all replaced. So if something's exemplary for a hello world, because congratulations, you made it work, we can actually show it 27,000 times automatically. And it's also worked for harder exercises, which means that you no longer need to wait very long for feedback. But automation isn't everything. So you may want some human feedback. Well, you can press the Get Mentoring button, which is, again, completely free and will stay completely free. And you can tell a mentor, hey, help me with this particular thing, or let me get better at this particular thing. And they will give you human feedback on your code. Unlike versions before, where waiting times could be multiple months, usually the waiting time is only mere moments. You can even share your solution with a coworker through a private mentoring link, which basically makes this code review on steroids. With far more than 100,000 unique contributors, and that's really 100,000 people who did more than one PR, we wanted to have a place where we could chat together, both about Exercism, but also unrelated topics. That's why there's now a forum, which is free to join for asynchronous communication, and an official Discord server for more noisy, young, synchronous communication. It's really shouting. There are also frequent videos recorded, we will call community stories. They're either by members from the community or prominent figures from all the programming languages that we all use every day. And on top of that, on Twitch, throughout the entire year, you can actually follow people doing exercises on Exercism. That's because this year we started doing what's called 12 in 23. It's a year-long event, and every single month there's a specific theme, and every month we combine various languages with this theme. Every month starts with a video from the current people who are being paid by Exercism. It's not me. And they will explain to you what the theme is and how the languages fit in that theme. If you complete at least 5 exercises in one of the languages that belongs to that month, you also get a badge, which you can proudly display on your profile, should you make your profile public. But this means it's the perfect way to incentivize yourself to pick up something new. Unfortunately, 10 minutes isn't enough to dig deeper, one of the features on Exercism. But so I've only scratched the surface. But I really want you to start doing Exercism tomorrow. All right, thank you very much. 10 minutes. Woo!
Yeah, nice. That means that we can move over to Amanda. Yep, fine.
Do you need this?
Yeah.
An Apple one.
Oh yeah, I have one of those. Ligt hier een dongel. Ligt de mijne hier nog ergens? Ja. We're figuring out. Can I?
Yes.
Are you left or right-handed?
It's processing, so yeah.
Ooh, right-handed. On the left.
Yeah. Oh, annoying. I'm just going to do it wrong.
Yeah.
Give me a second.
Oh, does it make sense to do on this one? And I just won't touch myself.
No, you'll do fine. Okay.
And then in the pocket is okay?
Yep. Usually the pants is more. Then you feel. Then you don't have that thing swaying around.
Okay.
Good to go?
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Amanda Perino, who, except for finishing Rails Girls before he even started, can fantastically introduce herself. Oh.
Hey. Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Perino. I am the new executive director of the new Rails Foundation. As of today, it has been 4 weeks and 2 days since I've been in this new role. And it's going really fast, especially because we want to do so much. And that's what this talk is about. In case you missed the news, the Rails Foundation was launched late last year and is supported by these core members and these contributing members. More to come on the contributing members. And our mission is to support the Rails community through improved documentation, marketing, events, and efforts around the Ruby on Rails community. So I'm just going to go through each of these one by one. Is everything okay?
Yeah.
No.
The mic seems to not work.
Oh, mine's not working?
I'm just putting this thing here. So
Testing.
talk to the audience. Everything will be
Okay.
fine.
I'm just going to go through these one by one so you know, I mean, you know what they mean, but you know what we mean by them, and then what you can expect from us in the coming months and years. It's a very non-technical talk compared to the rest. So documentation. Already, the Ruby on Rails documentation is pretty thorough, but there's always room for improvement. If you've come across it, you know that there's things that are still works in progress. The navigation deserves some thought. The content can use refreshing. So that's going to be a large focus of what the foundation is going to be doing over the next year. It's a big project, and I'm pretty excited to get started. We're going to also have a beginner's tutorial, so anybody coming into Rails for the very first time can get everything they need to know from beginning to deployment. And we recognize that not everybody learns in the same way, so we're going to explore other mediums, video tutorials as well as written. Did anybody see the React.dev launch this week? Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Goals. I think I don't need to tell you all that developers like yourselves don't like to be marketed to. And the Rails Foundation has nothing to sell to you. So what we mean by this is basically a better flow of communication of what the Rails core team is doing out into the world. So when they have updates, when they have a new version, that's making sure that's spread far and wide on social media, on our blog, in the newsletter, and making sure the guides are updated as well. I'd also like to highlight success stories of companies who are successfully built on Rails. And that's as much about attracting new users as allowing developers who want to use Rails to justify the use case to business partners, customers, your team. So when you're saying you want to use Rails and somebody maybe non-technical goes to the Rails website, I want them to be able to see in a glance that the ecosystem is strong, the community is strong, and other companies are using Rails for these applications. I think events are pretty self-explanatory. We'd like to have a Rails user conference, and I'm currently mad at work trying to find a location for that in Europe. But we'd also like more people speaking about Rails at other developer conferences around the world. So finding a way to facilitate that and then promoting those talks when they happen. So let me know if that's you. Education is something, it's kind of a long-term goal, but one I'm pretty excited about. We have a really good opportunity to approach boot camps, universities, high schools, maybe middle schools, I don't know what you call that here, with a standard Ruby curriculum and a standard Rails curriculum and pretty solid use cases about why this language and this framework would be a good thing to teach, good skills for the future. And on top of all that as well, there's the operational work of running a foundation, which is quite intense, different challenges every day. But I won't bore you with those details. The community so far has been really welcoming. I think the Ruby community as well as the Rails community is extremely welcoming. So I've had a lot of calls and a lot of ideas coming at me. But what I'd like to do is kind of find a more systematic way to gather everybody's opinions. So I'll be sending out a survey. Sorry, it's not a survey. It's more of a suggestion form that covers all of the pillars, documentation, marketing, events, and education to kind of get your ideas if you have any. So I'll be sending that out. If you don't mind, I'll put it on the Slack channel. And if you have any ideas for those 4 pillars, please share them with me. I can't promise that we'll do everything, but we're here to support the Rails community and by nature, the Ruby community as well. If you don't want to fill in the form, you can always reach me at amanda@rubyonrails.org. My inbox is open. And thank you. Break time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So I don't know if you can count, but it is 4. So that means that we now have time for some more drinks, maybe a bit to eat, talk to each other, and we will see each other back in 15-ish. Yeah. Hello, Joel, welcome back. Oh, you've switched around. Now I forgot, now I don't know how you're all called again. Anyway, we have 4 more talks. That's me. I'm in here somewhere. Also, Floor de Rees, hoi. Hi. She'll close this thing. This is fun. This is actually something that you can use in your day-to-day work. It's not the... Fun is not the word that I would use to fun. Not fun. But it's work. We're Rubyists. Usually our work is fun. Anyway, then we have Daniel Paulus. You should actually do not write his name like this. He's also someone who is fond of fishes, or fishing, and sitting in forests. Forests. Yes. Don't make fun of my speaking disorder. Come on. Anyway, he's also having ideas about power naps and things like that. So at least I'll learn something about that, but maybe that has to do with the fact that I have 2 kids. And then clearly we're going to start this thing with David Kelly, who is working for our venue host, Recharge, and he can tell us a thing or two about circuit breakers, which have nothing to do with electricity. Good, and I'd like to have a round of applause for Mr. David Kelly.
All right. Anyway, it's so nice to see so many Ruby people here. We only have a small team of 3, so this is like, wow! Thank you all for coming to today. Yeah, as Arno says, I'm David. I'm a tech consultant. I'm currently working for Recharge as a contractor, and I work on the backend team, which does purchasing. So I'm going to talk to you about why looking forward instead of backwards helped us to make a better circuit breaker. So what is a circuit breaker? Something terrible is about to happen. As you can see, we need some way of stopping our little child from getting fried in the bath. And a circuit breaker is the thing that is going to cut the power and save him from certain death. Sorry to start on a sad note, but basically we're trying to avoid some tragedy, right? In computing terms, a circuit breaker is something which is used to prevent constant failures. Yeah, simple. So Recharge, I think Wouter gave you a good introduction about who we are. We are a very fast-moving and very high-volume company. We do about $500 million in revenue every year, and we have thousands of carriers. So you can imagine that for us, it's very important when things start to go wrong that we pull the plug and don't make any more failed orders. All right, so basically we have Recharge. We connect to lots of different suppliers. Each supplier is connected to lots and lots of different carriers. And what happens when, say, something happens in Turkey, they have an earthquake. This is so depressing, this talk. And Turkish Telecom goes offline. What we want to do is we want to take the Turkish Telecom product off of our shop. Yeah? So how do we do this? Okay, first of all, we have a web shop. I'm really oversimplifying how it all works, but basically we have a web shop. It's 500 billion on this platform, can you imagine? We have a purchasing system, and this is connected to an AWS Aurora auto-scaling database. Now, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with this kind of database. Yes? Is the emoji correct? Thank you for sharing my... Well, I hate the thing, but okay, let me show you how we do our circuit breaking. It's very simple. We have a model, an orders model with an after hook. So after an order has been processed, we spawn a worker, and the worker is going to look into the database, find the consecutive failures for a carrier, and if we hit a certain threshold, we pull the plug. Make sense? All right, so obviously we're doing some deep queries into the database. And here's the problem. So I told you that this is an auto-scaling database, which can scale up to 32 instances in this cluster. And this is a timeline over about 4 days. And you can see over those 4 days, we're quite often hitting 100% load, which is definitely not something you want when you've got a lot of orders going through your system. So I don't need to tell you what the problems of having an overloaded database are. The prices, the scaling, the restrictions. There's no ways we can have this happening to us and have a Black Friday where we suddenly triple our sales. Everything's just going to crash. So this is not sustainable. So we looked at different solutions. We can check for failures less frequently. The less often we check for failures, the less load we put in the database, but then we don't want to wait for an hour to respond to some outage, right? We want to be able to respond as soon as possible. We can do stuff like caching. We could have a dedicated read-only replica or materialized views, but surprise, surprise, AWS auto-scaling MySQL database doesn't offer any of these features. Or we could migrate to a different database. If you're doing 40,000 orders a day, migrating and keeping everything up and running, not an easy task. So what are we going to do? There's a lot of crying. There's tears, there's beers. So a little story. Who's seen this movie? Almost everyone. Yay! I was getting worried that none of my references were going to work in this talk. So anyway, what happened was a few months ago, well, about a year ago, I was watching YouTube videos. I heard the Back to the Future theme song. And I don't know about you guys, but when I hear the theme song for a movie, I just go, oh, I want to watch that movie again. And so I put the movie on. I'm sitting there drinking my beer, eating my popcorn, watching the movie. And it gets to the end of the movie. By the way, lightning talk, lightning strike. When Arno said to me, do you ever have a theme for a talk? I was like, lightning talk. Yes, I have one, actually. So it comes to the end of the movie. Marty goes back in time, back to the future. He runs over to the parking lot. Doc's on the ground. He's been shot. He runs over, oh, Doc, right? And he thinks he's dead. And Doc gets up and he opens his vest. He's got a bulletproof vest on. And why? Because Marty, back in the past, sent him a message, a warning about what's going to happen in the future. And that, for me, was an aha moment. I was like, maybe we're just doing this all wrong. This is our timeline. And when we're trying to figure out what's going wrong, we keep looking back into the past, into this SQL database. But what if we could switch things around and instead we send messages into some future inbox that a future process can work on? I'm going to do this with Redis. Why with Redis? We all know it's lightweight. It's very, very fast. But it has my favorite feature of them all, which is auto-expiring keys. So I'm going to run you very quickly through a sort of 6-minute time window. So we have a threshold of 5 failed orders in order to pull a plug. In the first minute, we get a failed order. We send a message into the future. In the second minute, nothing happens. Third minute, more failures. Fourth minute, nothing happens. Fifth minute, here's where the magic happens. That keys expires. Now we're down to 3 messages, right? We still need to get 5 messages before we'll pull the plug. And then in the 6th minute, 2 more errors come in and bam, it's time to break the circuit. Yeah? It's a Ruby talk, so I'm going to show you more Ruby code. You don't need to read into this too deeply, but basically, very simply, now instead of running a worker, all we have to do is in an after hook, unless we've failed, well, first of all, if the order hasn't failed, there's no point in sending a message into the future, so we can skip that bit. That saves us a lot of time. Otherwise, we're going to write a carrier failure, and if we hit the threshold, we send our workers off to turn the carrier off and then turn it back online in an hour or 4 hours or whatever it is that we've decided. So if you were using the Redis command line interface and you look through the keys, this is basically what you'd see. This carrier 11111 has had these orders fail, and we know that now we need to break the circuit. Yeah? And this is the result. So this little yellow line is the moment we deployed this new feature, and you can see that we're going from constantly hitting almost 100% CPU at times, down to now the database basically sits roughly around 15% load. And in terms of the scaling instances, we were scaling sometimes up to 32 instances in the middle of the day. Now, almost never scales up. Win! All right. Okay. Oh, sorry. My time is not just yet up. If we want to extend this further, we want to have multiple different types of circuit breakers. So for up to now, we've only been able to break carriers because it's been so complicated. There's so much load on the database. We want to have different types of circuit breakers, and we want them to all be configurable with their own different types of rules. And certain errors shouldn't cause a circuit to break, like user errors. So what happens now is we have multiple inboxes, and every time something goes wrong with an order, we send one message to each one of those inboxes. The bigger the box, the longer it takes to fill up, the less likely the circuit is to break. Yeah? Easy. And excluding certain types of failure, what happens with us a lot is people put the wrong phone number in. So they want to recharge their Vodafone number, and they put in the wrong number, or sometimes they have a contract number instead of a prepaid number, and they try topping it up. One thing I think we forgot to mention is one of our biggest selling points is if you have family in Brazil and you want to top up your mom's or your grandmother's mobile phone using your Dutch Ideal card, you can do that. We connect all these different payment systems and all these different utility systems together. But this means that we do get a lot of these kinds of user errors. If we were going to look back into the SQL and try and figure out how to exclude these kinds of errors from our circuit breaker, we have to put in some kind of rules like this, like a search into the error message. Now you can imagine doing this in SQL puts a lot more extra strain on the database. Now that we move the logic from that into Ruby, all we have to do is match with a regex and some array of different types of error types. And it saves us all this CPU load. So, in conclusion, watch more retro sci-fi movies and you'll get great ideas on how to improve your product. Thank you.
Nice. I told you that there would be talks that you can use tomorrow already in your systems, right? This is one of them. Yep, I think so. Danielle, are you ready for it? Yep. Do you want the clicker?
Yeah, maybe I do.
Mag ik even aan je broek komen?
Jij mag aan mijn broek komen.
Kijk eens. Twee tellen.
Ik wil niet dit.
Goed. Mag ik eens?
Ja.
Denk.
Zit die? Ja?
Ja.
Wow, it works. All right. So this is actually the first time that I'm going to do this talk. And it's also 10 minutes only. And it's also the first time I use a new tool called Canva, which I super like. So tip for if you ever want to do a nice presentation, use Canva. I'm going to talk about self-care or mental health, basically. And that has to do with a story about myself. So a few years ago, I joined a nice little startup. I was employee number 5. But at the end, or some year later, we were with 100 Ruby developers. And there was only one person doing operations. And then they asked me, you seem to know what an IP address is. Would you like to join him? And I said, yes. So we were with 2 at the time. We were in charge of 2 data centers, all the laptops, the lights in the office, and if the toilet would break down, they would call us as well. But you can understand that I would also do the deployments. And at that time, we didn't do DevOps yet. It was unknown. They would just line up at my desk, say, hey, I have this change in Ruby. Would you deploy for me, please? We would go almost by FTP to the servers, update stuff, all manual. And I did that with lots of energy drink and coffee and insane working hours until my body said, nope, we're not going to do this anymore. And at the time, I was home for 6 months. And that taught me the things that I will learn, hopefully, to you today. Hi, I'm Daniel. Now I work with the cloud and with containers at BrightBlue. I love communities, meetups, events, stuff like that. But basically, I do too much. So don't do as I do. In the time that I was at home, I started to look around to find people that had the same issues as I did. And I found DevOps Days. If you've never been there, or if you've never been to a DevOps meetup in the past, please go there. It's awesome. It's really welcoming, just as the Ruby folks are, the DevOps people are as well. When I started to talk to the coach, I learned about a thing called BOS. In Dutch, it's a Dutch word for which, if you look at the acronyms, it's really funny because it's the 3 pillars on which mental health is built upon. Please don't update OneDrive right now. Thank you. So to translate it for the non-Dutch people, the B stands for bewegen, which is movement. The O stands for ontspanning, which is chill. And the S stands for social, which is what we're doing right here, right now. So let's zoom in a bit. Step 1, get up. Just as the awesome talk from DJ, exercising is important. Not only exercising in a gym, but also like getting up from your chair. And don't update OneDrive. Come on, let's go. And it helps with depression and stuff like that. So if you walk, the positive effects it has on your mental health, your mood, stress, and depression, it's calming you and it gives you your cognitive load back. So it opens up your mind and it gets you more creative. My tip would be go to a forest instead of a city, but that's not always possible. At least if you're out there, it's better. And what I started to do is do a meeting or one-on-ones or stuff like that. Go outside. Ask if it's okay if you walk during the meeting. If you have a meeting that you don't have to present something or watch to a screen, you can walk. It's fine. And lunch breaks are also awesome to walk. But if we all work hard, but we need to find time to compensate and to chill more. So when I first started to do this, I had this idea of meditation and I'm like, oh man, come on, it's not for me. It is, trust me, it is. A tip I would give you, there's this app called Meditation Moments. There are more out there, but this is the one that I use. It's 10 minutes, it's easygoing. It helps me to wind down after a day of work. And they also have music in that app, which on certain hertz enables you to become in a certain brain pattern where you get faster and more focused, or you wind down. It's really good. So music and meditation and breathing can help you through anxiety and stuff like that. Something I didn't know, and I just recently found out, that if you are stressed and you massage your hand, it's actually calming you down. With us all the day at your keyboard, your hands get tired. So tip from me. Be a bee. I'm not sure if anyone here knows what bees do, but they are extremely good in groups. So be social. Be at events like this, but also be outside, be with people, talk with people. Again, it makes you feel happy, and therefore it helps your mental health. One of the things that you may not know is that by interacting with other people, you reduce the risk of dementia, which for me, again, I didn't know until I started to figure this out. But with us all getting older and hopefully getting to a certain age, the risk also gets higher. So be with people. Something I learned way before I started out in the IT is something called a buddy system, which with programming you can also see as pair programming. But the buddy system is basically a system where with two people you are basically one. If you need to do something, you bring your buddy with you. Be a buddy. That's basically to take away. And then my favorite thing of all, sleep. It's basically two parts. Part one, your standard nightly sleep. This will help to get all your cognitive functions back in order, make sure that your mental health gets reset, that your entire body gets reset. 8 hours is advised. I heard some people with kids, 8 hours can be difficult. But try to reach somewhere near that. So in the time that I got burned out, my actual sleep was about 5 hours a night, which really isn't enough. And when I started to work out, the first thing I got learned was sleep. Sleep is the most important thing. If you work out and you don't sleep, it doesn't work. But then I was okay, so I can't do 8 hours a night. What do I do? Power naps. If you do power naps, it can enhance the mood that you have at that time. So if you're stressed or whatever and you take a power nap, it can greatly enhance your mood, but also enhance your creativity. So first go into the woods, release your creativity, and then do a power nap, and you're good to go for the entire afternoon. I thank you for your attention. You can find me at the Amsterdam.rb. If you're not in there, scan that code and you'll get an invitation. I am Daniel Paulus and you will find me there. 10 minutes. Awesome.
Nice. Very well done. Oh, super, dankjewel.
Ik heb er nog één quick fine.
Die mag je aan Floor geven. Ja. Ja, ik ga nu en jij bent daarna. Okay. So, that's fun. Yeah, good. So, I'll spare you introducing myself. So this talk is called More Power in Energy Constrained Times, or what do energy and software professionals have to do with each other? Let me introduce myself. Hello, I'm Arno Fleming. You can reach me on arno@rubyists.org. I'm an engineering manager, individual contributor, also a freelancer. Also, I'm a dad.
No 8 hours a day.
Yes, no 8 hours a day. Also, usually I don't have time for power naps as well, but I'm going to do the thing. And also, I'm just hand massaging for some reason. I already do that. But I'll just lay flat down on the ground for a few quarters a day. Yeah. Anyway, I'm also a Ruby community organizer, but come on, you knew. It's not the last slide, but it could have been. Yeah. Picture mode. Oh, sorry, inspirational. Yeah, sorry, I usually need whiteboards and pens. Anyway, so you read this thing. I'm not going to read it to you. But did you read it? Okay, good. Nice. So what you can do with your time is build bridges, or you can build bombs. Look, we're talking about engineering here. You don't... Sorry? Yeah, multifunctional. Bridges. Yes. Also, there are people in this room who programmed missiles, which is also engineering. And it's even a fun thing to do. Potentially not when there are nuclear missiles. But these things need to be built, and they serve a purpose. So if you build something with purpose, you are potentially making the world a better place. Yeah? Maybe you're ending a war with that thing, or maybe you're abetting criminals with that thing. I don't know. As long as you know what you're doing and you know why you're doing them, I think you're fine. So let's look at some examples on decisions you could make, and let's just start big. Really hard. Option 1, influencing world politics. This is not for all of us. So this is from a warfighting manual. If the only thing when you're having troubles, when you're a nation state or competing with a nation state, is just use force to impose your will upon the other. That's all war is about. Yeah? And war is usually about energy. And this talk was about energy. Some wars are actually about energy. Some wars just make energy more expensive. That is because they are so wasteful. And then a fantastic quote by George Orwell from the book 1984. This is a fantastic bit. The object of war is not to make or prevent conquest of territory, but to keep the structure of society intact. So if the structure of society is sound, which potentially is not true about that book, war can serve a purpose. Usually I don't like wars. So let's look at something more fun. Hey, look, a lighting talk, or cleaning and heating. Yeah, sorry, I stole your joke. I had to do it. So option 2, hard but doable, improving the efficiency of things we use. So we used to light our houses with glowing metal, and we went into LEDs. So what you see here is just a thing. More to the right is brighter. From 220 lumens, you could barely read a book next to it. You can barely read a book next to it, to 1,000 lumens. This is very uncozy in your living room. So we used to use 100 watts of energy. That is joule per second, or anyway, this is just some thing. And now we only use 12 watt to reach that same amount of light, which is still impossible to have a cozy surrounding with this amount of light. Also notice that this is half of what we had when we weren't even able to read a book. So that is what progress looks like. This is not a work of art, this is the work of engineering. Yeah, this is what you could do with your time if you make decisions to do something like that. Okay, let's look at something that sucks. Let's look at vacuum cleaners. Hey, but it's funny, more funny than war, come on. And this is, by the way, the EU eco-design requirement, as far as I know, yeah, it was published in 2019. So I've highlighted the most important things. I'm going to read it to you. By switching to one of the most energy-efficient vacuum cleaners, Europe as a whole can save the annual household electricity consumption of Belgium, about 8 medium-sized power plants. And I don't know about you, but most Europeans don't operate their vacuum cleaner 24 hours a day. Yeah? So a device that sits useless in a cupboard most of the time, if you have a device that adheres to this standard, you're actually doing the world a favor. Yeah? Also, you could not use the vacuum cleaner, you're doing the world a bigger favor, but potentially not your significant other. Okay, heating your home. This is also something about energy consumption, because heating things, well, that is just, well, it used to be very not cost effective. So when you burn gas, 90% of that gas is going to be, well, will be producing heat, and the rest is waste, potentially because your house is just getting the fumes out while they're still warm, other things. Or electric heating is almost 100% efficient. That means if it has lights, it's less efficient. Yeah? If it just makes heat, it's good. 100% efficient. Also, you have heat pumps. They have those outside units or potentially units in your soil. And for every kilowatt of energy you put in there, they create 3.5 to 4.5 kilowatt of heat. And this, does adhere to the laws of physics. So it makes more energy, makes more heat in your home than you put energy in, because it's not creating heat, it's just merely moving it from one place to the other. So this is also progress, and we're not burning gas. But the question is, how do we get here? The answer is regulations. Yay for Europe! Regulations, they're a good thing. Yeah. So in the Netherlands, you can't build a house that has a connection to a fossil gas network anymore. It's just impossible. But gas is easy to store if demand is low and production is high, and with electricity, not so much. So smart engineering was needed to ensure that we could go away. And it was good that we already knew how heat pumps work. Now we only have to make them better. Which brings me to the next topic, LED lights. They are not an option. You have to buy these things, even if some boomers really still want to buy those tungsten filament thingies, because they're more gezellig. Yeah, hygelig, as they say in Norway, or just cozy, which doesn't cut it. But why is that? Why do we only have LED lighting? You know? Yes, you do. So, this is lobbying. This is the fun of EU and regulations. There's just a company that knows how to sell things. They just don't have a market. So with enough lobbying, you can get this thing done. And I think the whole world is better off. And Philips is, and a few old-fashioned light bulb makers aren't. Anyway, so that is the EU, all those regulations. Now then, just tying this thing back to where I started, what is the base for the EU again? The European Coal and Steel Community, founded in 1952. This was a way to ensure we could just have commerce over wars. So it always starts with wars. That sucks, I think. Anyway, so. Let's go to fun and doable. And this is really small scale insights in your own energy use. You can buy a Raspberry Pi. No, you can't, because they're sold out everywhere on this planet. But you could, or I don't know how to get this thing, and then you just install software and you're done. You can also go the geek way. This involves lots of codes, lots of hardware. A Ruby on Rails backend with a time series database is completely out of scope for this talk. So it looks a bit like this. You have a Dutch smart meter. It is going to become a European standard. So this thing already functions in Luxembourg and Denmark and Spain, as far as I know. This thing is even made in Spain because it's too expensive to build this in the Netherlands. An inverter, because reasons. An Arduino with Wi-Fi, which is a very fancy calculator, but not a computer. And this is what the whole contraption looks like. And what it gives you, if you have that Ruby on Rails backend with a time series database, is insights to your energy use. And that is my 10 minutes. So this tells you that you have a few things in the last 15 minutes happening, or even on a per second granularity what's going on. You get to program C, which I use Exercis to understand. But you also have option 4, and this is where your imagination kicks in. So sleep enough, be social, go outside, and just set your brain to work. So the question was, what do we need? So you're a software professional. The things that you build are things that change this world. And what we actually need is knowledgeable people like you to solve the problems of this world over prolonging or even exacerbating them. I'm sorry. Thank you. Ah, it was your laptop.
It was my laptop. Why?
Whose laptop do I have now?
It's the one with the mustache on it. Of course it's mine.
Yes.
No?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you need a clicker?
Potentially. Also, a glass of water would be awesome. Or is that not something that you offer as well? Yeah. Let's see if it works. Ja, Arno is al bezig. Dank jullie wel. Bedankt jullie wel dat jullie me allemaal water willen geven. Waar is de klikker dan gebleven?
Oh ja. Just click it in.
Het is dan leuk dat je dat dan een soort van half aanbiedt. Thank you. Hello everyone. I want to talk to you about open source supply chain security stuff for all of you. you Rubyists and non-Rubyists, as I learned that there are some non-Rubyists in the audience too. So as an industry, we use a lot of components to maintain our commercial edge, and likely many more than you actually think that you're using, because all of our projects also have nested dependencies in turn. And in doing so, thank you so very much. We're trusting the work of a lot of strangers on the internet and their ability to keep maintaining the components that we rely on, and also that they understand the license under which they release their software and that they continue to release their software under that same license. So last Saturday, we hinted towards it. We hosted a Rails Worlds event, and a flurry of components are introduced by just doing Rails new, right? And I'm going to take you through like a little timeline of threats to the Ruby open source infrastructure, courtesy of Sonatype. So don't shoot me, shoot them. For instance, in July 2018, GitHub API token from Homebrew's Jenkins provided a security researcher with access to core Homebrew software repos. And the security researcher says that if I were a malicious actor, I could have made a small, likely unnoticed change to the OpenSSL formulae, placing a backdoor on any machine that had installed it. So that's interesting. March 2019, a malicious version of the popular Bootstrap SSS package downloaded a total of 28 millions to that date. And with 1.6K dependencies is published on the RubyGems repo. In June 2019, 23 malicious RubyGems packages were discovered. Packages were pulled from the public repo because they contained code for crypto mining and cookie and password stealing. July 2019, this list goes on, I'm sorry. An attack involved remote code execution in applications that were using or were bundling the strong password component. The hacker in this attack compromised the component and its dependencies and locked out the gem maintainer on purpose. October 2019, 3 versions of the GEMS package Basic Audible, released in 2017, were yanked from the GEMS repo due to their malicious code. It actually says yanked, like, I didn't make this up. And then April 2020, 400 gems were removed from RubyGems for typo squatting and crypto mining malware. I'm going to stop there because then the whole pandemic hit and all kinds of other horrible things happened. So I don't want to, also add to that load. And who is this person bringing you this terrible news? My name is Floor. I'm one of the organizers of this meetup and very many other meetups, as Daniel is as well. I also do too much. I do open source stuff at Ivan. We are sort of a database as a service. We host all of your favorite open source data tools without exploiting the maintainers or their projects. So you might want to give that a check out. I also organize DevOps days, conferences, and meetups, and so forth and so on. All right, back to the talk. The 2022 OSRA report produced by the Synopsys Cybersecurity Research Center examines the results from over 2,400 commercial code bases, and the audit came back that 97% of those contained open source software. This shouldn't confuse you or like take you by surprise. This is, I think, hopefully common knowledge by now that we're all using open source, whether you know it or not, or whether your manager knows it or not. Another interesting number from the SNCC security firm, if you know it, their State of Open Source Security report says that the average application has 49 vulnerabilities spanning 79 direct dependencies. So that's a component that you have directly introduced into your source code. All right. Okay. From the 2020 Open Source Security Survey, also from SNCC, it says that 47% of respondents thought that a vulnerability should be fixed within a week of discovery, and almost 18% expect a fix within a day. When in actuality, only 35% of vulnerabilities in scanned projects were fixed in under 20 days, while 36% of those took 70 days or more, with an average of 68 days. So it's clear that we and organizations need to adjust their expectations around risk posture, and they need to be cognizant of SLAs or lack thereof for open source vulnerabilities fixes, especially when an individual contributor is in charge of maintaining that code. So you might have seen this XKCD is very famous in open source supply chain circles. But 46% of maintainers are not paid at all, and only 26% of them earn more than $1,000 per year for their maintenance work, which is nothing. Like, look at your own salaries, it's nothing. Over half of them have, it's a KubeCon ticket, that's what it is, that's it. Over half, so 59% have quit or considered quitting maintaining a project, and almost half of respondents listed lack of financial compensation as their top reason for disliking being a maintainer. This is from a tight-lipped survey. All right, so there's this problem of the, components are being maintained by the single individual who isn't paid for their work, and no doubt receives a lot of scrutiny in the PRs because they're not merging stuff soon enough. But there's also another issue in open source, and that's licenses. So projects have in recent years relicensed their software in order for them, for others to not take advantage of it anymore, or what they saw as other people taking advantage of their code. And when you are using, when you're using dependencies, you're also using the dependencies licenses, and you need to comply with those as well. So if they change their license, you might likely need to change your license as well, or you're not compliant. And license litigation might actually end up forcing you to release your code under the same license as the package dependency that you used, if that's what it says. And other potential problems, of course, include being sued for financial liability by the creator of that component, or losing reputation, or getting negative press coverage, all things that you don't want. So I've seen some solutions in the wild, and I want to talk about them for a little bit. Solutions to try and shield us from license changes that will change how compliant we are, and from dependencies introducing vulnerabilities in our applications. So one of them is forking or mirroring. I've heard this as a response that you should just have a mirror of all of the components that you have in use as a solution. While that can be useful in some cases, like when a component is not maintained anymore, but also think about maybe forking it and then, like further developing it. If you just have a bunch of mirrors, then you're a maintainer of a bunch of mirrors. You likely don't want that. And sometimes vulnerabilities are in a code base or in a component for many days, weeks, months, years before they're fixed. And so new releases bring fixes as well. So if you don't keep your mirror updated, you can't benefit from those fixes. Another fun example that I've seen in the wild is pinning it to a certain version. So I was at this conference the other day, and there was a big bank presenting that I will not name. It was Rabobank. And they had a slide up with all of the components that they had in use, and then they had version numbers next to some of the open source components that they were using, like Helm, for instance, as a component. And when I checked, many of those version numbers were sometimes more than one major release behind the current version. And when I asked them about their update strategy, they said there is none. It's a very manual labor. And so again, you can't. So while it was fantastic that they at least knew which versions of the components that they were using were in use, right? Like many companies can't even say which version they're using of a particular kind of software. It still doesn't let you benefit from all of the updates that come with a new release. So maybe not great options. Great options, though, are investing in being able to recognize and support healthy communities. So that should be a whole talk in and of itself. And there are actually whole complete talks about this topic. So definitely suggest you checking some of those out. I also wrote a whole blog post after I talked about this topic, that specific topic at FOSDEM, what I learned from talking to 50+ maintainers about healthy communities. So give that a check out and like it and unicorn it or whatever they have as the nice things that you can do with posts on dev.to. But also maybe check out what Beutell is doing, because there's also tools in this space that will help you figure that out. And that also helps you do due diligence of alternative components. So again, if there is a component that is at risk of maybe relicensing or that has some issues with vulnerabilities, make sure that you check out other tools in that same space that you could maybe interrupt with your code base. All right, but then also definitely figure out how to build dependency management and license management into your pipelines, into your CI/CD, into your DevOps, do DevSecOps. Because shifting left dependency and license management to the build or deploy stage prevents you from being non-compliant in production, avoid a lot of hairy problems, and also losing your customers' trust, which you don't want. So one of these things is to help you do that and help you figure out what kind of components you have in use and what licenses they're under, which versions do you have in use, is a software bill of materials. So a bill of materials derives from manufacturing. It's actually like a really old term, inventory of all of the stuff that is in your car or whatever manufactured you're buying. And as I said, it lists all the licenses, the components, the versions, etc. And when you know that, your security team can also respond faster to issues with license risk or others. And to create your own software bill of materials, you need a software composition analysis tools, or SCA for short, because it gets really long. Those can help you build an SBOM. And there is a Dutch guy who's living in Berlin who created the OSS Review Toolkit, ORT for short, which includes sorry, I need to read from my notes. Software Package Data Exchange, SPDX, which is an open standard for software bill of materials, and it's super, super interesting project. So definitely check that out and figure out what you're using so that you can help your security team react to vulnerabilities and license compliance issues quicker. So while an SBOM or an SCA doesn't actually prevent vulnerabilities from popping up, you will know about it and you will know where to look for it to patch. Thank you.
And then
do we do the end spiel?
Yeah, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think I have any slides because my laptop is off again, but...
Oh, so we don't need any slides?
No.
Do you want to talk about the April meetup?
Yes.
Because we had 8 talks now, we'll have no talks in April. Yeah.
Exactly. We are going to have a meetup with 0 talks.
You're not allowed to talk. No, wait.
You're allowed to chat with each other, though. And we're just going to find a bar for it.
Yeah, I love all the emotions. Like,
yeah.
Yay! Yeah.
Do we also have a date?
We don't.
We don't. But usually it's the 3rd Tuesday in a month, so you can do the math. Or ask Wander because he's really into math. Yes. So 3rd Tuesday.
That's like the 18th.
Yeah.
He's gonna look it up on his phone
because math.
I'm a programmer.
Sorry.
The 18th, right?
3rd Tuesday.
Okay.
It's the 18th.
Okay.
It's the 18th of April. We figured it out.
18th of April.
I love that's a community effort to figure out when we have a next meetup.
We have 1 RSVP already.
Same. 5, 2.
2, 3, 4.
Yeah,
yes,
look at
nice.
that.
So we'll see all y'all, and now chat all y'all.
We'll figure it out.
Sponsors.